Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And some stories just write themselves. As a YouTuber who likes to get angry on the story of the day, or several stories of the day, sometimes the stories land in your lap like manna from heaven. I saw this one, and I thought, oh boy, this is going to be good. Now, before I start, I must make it perfectly clear. I'm married to a Scots lass. My father-in-law is Scottish. I have many Scottish friends. Scotland, I think, is a beautiful place. If ever you've driven up there, through the Great Glen, past the mountains, up past the lochs to Inverness, for example, and then onto the Black Isle, you'll know exactly how beautiful a place it is. I found it to be a great place to go, especially in the summer. Not so much in the winter, a bit cold, a bit bleak. But in the summer, we have endless fun traipsing around the Highlands and generally just taking in the whole atmosphere of the place. I love Scotland, I love the Scottish people, and I want that perfectly clear before I start. Scotland, what the hell are you playing at? You keep voting in this god-awful woman. Now, I'm not the sort of person that likes politicians. I treat all politicians with contempt because they're all smarmy, oleaginous, greedy, two-faced, conniving, lying bastards. But Nicola Sturgeon, wow, she is just the best at it, isn't she? Apart from wanting to actually bankrupt Scotland and then break up the union that's been so successful for Scotland, now she goes on and she hates a quarter of the people who she represents because she says she can't stand Tories, who are about a quarter of the people who vote in Scotland. So she's representing, all these people in Scotland, and she loathes a quarter of them. She said so. And now she's got an equalities minister or an equalities officer who is a man who hates women and has threatened to beat them. And he's still in his job. Oh, Scotland, you deserve better. You can do better. Just look at this article. Oh, and it's got J.K. Rowling. Now J.K. Rowling, God bless her, brands Nicola Sturgeon the first feminist. Author slams SNP leader in latest war of words after it emerges that the party's equalities officer threatened to beat the F out of TERFs. J.K. Rowling has hit out at Nicola Sturgeon again in a row over trans rights. It emerged the SNP equalities officer threatened violence against women. Cameron Downing tweeted, "I effing hate TERFs and transphobes. First Minister wants the law to make it easier for transgender people to self-ID. Feminists have raised concerns about the impact on single-sex spaces for women." Basically, Nicola Sturgeon has got a man who's the equalities officer. He's mentally ill. He's a trans man. He's a trans woman. He's a man who likes to dress up like a woman and pretend he's a woman. And because he's so enamoured with being a woman, it means he hates real women because a real woman is something he'll never be. He's like Pinocchio. He'll never be a real girl, right? So because he'll never be a real woman, he hates real women. And he threatened violence against them. And she still hires him. And then not only hires him, but kowtows to his weird mentally ill beliefs and says, yeah, we're just going to give you the right to self-ID. It's not as though you need to have a psychiatric evaluation, live 2 years, or have any kind of treatment. No. You can just self-ID. And when every prison in Scotland is a woman's prison, it's going to be a terrible place to go to prison. Anyway, J.K. Rowling's public feud, the wonderful J.K. Rowling's public feud with the wee shart Nicola Sturgeon over trans rights escalated today as the Harry Potter author sarcastically branded the SNP leader the first feminist. As it emerged, the party's equalities officer threatened to beat the F out of TERFs. In a string of now deleted vile tweets, Cameron Downing, 23, threatened violence against women and using the derogatory term TERF, declared, "I effing hate TERFs and transphobes with such a passion they make me want to squeam." He's an aspiring actor, Mr. Downing. Well, of course he's an actor. He's an out-of-work actor, and if you know anything about that, you'll know what that means. But he's also one of these. He's an absolute beater. So he can scream and scream and scream as much as he likes. Anyway, he's been the equalities officer for the SNP's London branch since August and previously worked in the same role last year. He also worked as a contract tracer at the NHS Lothian, and when confronted about the Twitter post, he said, I apologise for these tweets and for any offence caused to them. I apologise for the tweets and for any offence caused to the LGBTQ plus community and have long since deleted them. But he has not apologised to women. So he threatens violence upon women and then only apologises for the embarrassing comments that may have embarrassed his fellow LGBTQ, pick a letter. But he's not actually apologising to the women he's abusing and threatening. Does that make him a suitable candidate for office? Or does it make him a hate-filled, mentally ill, multiple personality sicko who is probably going to commit serious offences? I wouldn't be surprised if this man is the sort that needs to be on a register and kept away from children. And I would like the police to examine all of his electronic devices. The outburst has sparked a public backlash, with Scottish Conservative MSP Rachel Hamilton thundering, "This is abhorrent language for someone in such a position to be using in relation to this debate. Given the sensitive nature of the subject, there is an onus on everyone involved to discuss it in a respectful and civilised way, not least an equalities officer for the SNP." Now, one of the roles the equalities officer has to deal with is violence against women. So you're getting a man who's going to be discussing violence against women, making threats of violence against women. And the shart of shit that is Nicola Sturgeon hasn't fired him. I suppose if you actually peered into her, you really wouldn't like who she is. I believe at school they called her seaweed because not even the tide would take her out. But she is an awful, awful woman. And now we can see what side she is on. She's on the side of a man who threatens violence against women and hasn't fired him. So that's Nicola Sturgeon for you, Scotland. Well done for you. Well done for voting in that. Now, I hope every woman in Scotland looks at Sturgeon, sees exactly what Sturgeon is. Excuse me, my dog get angry now. Sees exactly what Sturgeon is and says, actually, I tell you what, Nicola, you can fuck off, away boil your head, and vote for anyone else. Don't care, vote for an independent. Vote for anyone but Sturgeon. She does not deserve the office. She does not deserve the rank of First Minister if she is picking sides with a man who threatens violence against women over women. And that tells you all you need to know about Nicola Sturgeon. Now, Pressure Group for Women Scotland added, the SNP seem to actively want mindless thugs in their ranks, as long as it's only women they want to hurt. Miss Rowling waded into the row today and chose to resume her ongoing war of words with the fish by sharing the story on Twitter and writing, Nicola Sturgeon Scotland, a place where an equalities officer feels free to declare in public how much he wants to beat up non-compliant women. And there is the lovely and marvellous J.K. Rowling and that thing. Oh, and here is your compliance officer. His name is Cameron Downing. Yeah, definitely an alpha male there. And I don't care how much nail varnish you put on, love. You're a man. And you can wear your big dungarees, but it doesn't hide the fact that you're a man. And you're a man who wants to beat women. What a real man you are, because real men don't beat women. Responding to another tweet about Miss Sturgeon's next move, the Harry Potter author sarcastically said, "Oh, I'm sure the first feminist will be all over it, what with her sterling record of taking women's concerns seriously and loudly condemning R&D threats to members of her own party." Miss Rowling and the First Minister are at loggerheads over trans issues and the Scottish Government's legislation to make it quicker and easier for individuals as young as 16 to change sex with no requirement for medical reports or evidence. And I'm going to point out here, It's impossible to change sex. You cannot. It is immutable. It is down at the very molecular level of your body. So it doesn't matter what laws you pass, you cannot change your sex. You can call yourself what you like, but if you've got a prostate, that ain't disappearing anytime soon. The row escalated when Edinburgh resident Miss Rowling branded the SNP leader a destroyer of women's rights and wearing a t-shirt with it as a motif. Glasgow SNP Miss Sturgeon, then Miss Sturgeon? Mrs. Surely, married, then ratcheted up the war of words by suggesting that the author is not a real feminist and that she is. She's a real feminist. Sturgeon says she's a real feminist and she's proving it by hiring a man who wants to beat women. Good on you, Nicola, you horrible little shart of shite. And it's no wonder that you have got 0 friends. None. Anyway, go and have a fresh haircut. You had that one for too long. I'm done with her. She's horrible, isn't she? She's a horrible little thing. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of abuse from the Scots who admire her. Not all Scots do. In fact, less than half of Scots do. She couldn't manage a majority. But I will get some of her sort of more phobic, foam-at-the-mouth supporters, give me emails and messages on my board. And I don't care. Look, this is the face of someone who doesn't care. Anyway, going to round off and come up now. If Nippy had 1 gram of human decency, 1 shred of moral fibre, 1 ounce of backbone, she would take that hate-filled man, who is obviously in need of a psychiatric help, and she would fire him immediately to send out the message that the aggression and the threats to beat women will not be tolerated by the SNP. But she has not done that. And by her inaction has basically endorsed that kind of behaviour. Nicola Sturgeon is saying that it's perfectly fine for men to beat women. Will you vote for her? Scotland, will you? Will you vote for a woman who says it's okay for a man to beat a woman? Well, we'll find out at the next election. But thanks for listening. I'm done here. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, ring the bell for notifications for future output. Leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, a wee boil your head, and goodbye.